Social inequality occurs when resources in a given society are distributed unevenly, typically through norms of allocation that engender specific patterns along lines of socially defined categories of persons. It is the differentiation preference of access of social goods in the society brought about by power, religion, kinship, prestige, race, ethnicity, gender, age, and class. The social rights include labor market, the source of income, healthcare, and freedom of speech, education, political representation, and participation. 1. Social inequality linked to economic inequality, usually described on the basis of the unequal distribution of income or wealth, is a frequently studied type of social inequality. Though the disciplines of economics and sociology generally use different theoretical approaches to examine and explain economic inequality, both fields are actively involved in researching this inequality. However, social and natural resources other than
Arkadaşlar merhaba. Thomas Piketty'nin Capital in the 21st Century yani 21. yüzyılda Kapital adlı kitabı son zamanlarda çok ses getiriyor. Çünkü birçok kişi için büyük önem taşıyan bir soruna parmak basıyor. Yani gelir eşitsizliği ve servet eşitsizliği sorunlarından bahsediyor. Burada kitabın eleştirisini yapacak değilim. Çok iyi kitap ya da hiç olmamış demeyeceğim tabii ki. Bu kitabı kullanarak kendi yargınıza varabilmek için ihtiyacınız olan araçları sunacağım size. Kitabın şöyle de güzel bir yanı var. Piketty kitaptaki tüm grafik ve şekilleri web sitesine koymuş. Mesela bu ekran görüntüsünü ben şu adresten aldım. Bence sizler de bu adresi ziyaret edip tablolara bir göz atın. Çünkü
a widespread debate on inequality, the widening gap between rich and poor. Thomas Piketty used new data to suggest that even in developed countries, wealth creation does not necessarily reduce inequality, but it actually exacerbates it. My guest today is someone described as a rock star economist. They say that now only 62 individuals, wealthy individuals, own as much as the bottom half of the world. In 2010, that was 388 individuals. You could fit them on a plane. Now it's just down to 62.
You know, I think extreme inequality of the kind we see today is actually not good for growth. You know, I think if we want to have sustainable development in the long run, particularly in a country like India, I think we need to reduce inequality. I think when you have this kind of extreme level of inequality, first, this is bad for the working of our democratic institution, because this can give excessive influence of a small group of individuals in the financing of political parties, the media, and also from a purely economic viewpoint, it's not good because you want broader views.
And I'm very, very oversimplifying here, so please excuse me. But basically what you do by looking at decades and decades of income tax data, particularly of wealthy countries, is that you find that wealth creation has not necessarily reduced inequality. It's actually exacerbated it to the point where you actually need governments to come in and level the playing field. Why has that been the case? Why has the rising tide not lifted all boats as it was meant to?
Well, probably the main reason is that market forces in themselves, you know, are good to produce new wealth, but it will be a mistake to believe that these natural forces are enough to keep the distribution under control. So the main lesson from historical experience, and what's really new about this book is that we have been putting together a lot of historical data, and probably the main lesson is that we need strong democratic, fiscal, social institution in order to put these powerful market forces in the common interest. So what we see, for instance, in the 20th century is that it is only after World War I, World War II, and the new social and fiscal reforms that are put in place in developed countries in the post-war era that we have a more balanced distribution of income and wealth, as well as more sustainable growth. Now, since the 1980s, 1990s, we've entered into a new era of excessive financial deregulation. I mean, market competition is not bad in itself, but you want to keep it under control. If you have excessive deregulation, then this is not too good.
The rich are getting rich because of their hard work, because of the fact that the globalized economy is growing. So what's the problem with that?
Right, you know, if you look at data for the US on access to higher education, what you find is that, you know, people with parental income in the bottom 20 or 30%, you know, they never go to universities. Their chance to make it is less than 20%. And people in the top 10%, 90% of them go to university. So, you know, this doesn't look too much like meritocracy to me. So I think it's important to put this kind of claims about meritocracy under public scrutiny.
Right.
So
you actually call this patrimonial capitalism.
But the speed at which the average wealth of this group has been rising is just not compatible with the growth of the size of the total world economy. No, let me put this very clear. It's not a problem at all to have people who are billionaires, people who are in the middle, people who are poor.
Right.
As long as everybody goes up together more or less at the same speed. Now, the problem is that this is not what's happening. If you look at any ranking of billionaires published by Forbes or other magazines,
Yes.
what you find is that the top wealth group have been rising at 6, 7, 8, 9% per year, which is 2, 3, 4 times faster than the size of the world economy. So I think everybody can understand that this cannot continue forever, because you don't want, in the long run, if that was to continue forever, the share of world wealth belonging to billionaires will go toward 100%, which everybody would argue would be In the United States of America, between 1930 and 1980, so during half a century, on average, the top income tax rate applying above $1 million in annual income was 82% on average.
Okay.
Since Reagan, it has been reduced to 30–40%. Now, the evidence is that, if anything, productivity growth was higher back in the 50s, 60s, 70s than it has been since the Reagan
data
years.
shows this.
Well, yes, the productivity growth of the US economy since 1980 has been 1.5% per year in per capita term, whereas it was 3% per year in the 50s, 60s,
Okay, because
70s.
that turns the whole argument on the head against those who say that, look, if you increase taxes, then growth will slow down.
Yes, so at the very least, we should look at this experience again and think harder about this.
Here's another thing people say. They say that, look, inequality may be growing, but at net levels, poverty is falling the world over. So what's the problem? The fact is that the boats are being lifted.
The problem is just that we could do even better.